Good afternoon, everyone. And thank you for the introduction and the opportunity to return home to NASA, where it's true I've had an opportunity both as an ASAE fellow at Stennis and Goddard, as an EO officer for Stennis, as a scientist under NASA Jove at JPL, and numerous other opportunities. And actually, I'm grateful to having had the opportunity to work for 5 federal agencies as a result of the 4-year term assignments for which there was no extension. They gave me a chance to work for NASA, USDA Forest Service, the Navy, the Environmental Protection Agency, and under Northrop Grumman subcontracts for the DoD High Performance Computing Modernization Program. So I cheated by putting coolest for academia because it really provides me with an opportunity to continue to interact both with the private sector and with government, and to allow our students to similarly engage in such partnerships. So briefly, I won't read these slides because there are too many of them, and I'll go through like an auctioneer. So at Tuskegee particularly, I discovered a very rich history that went back to 1881, and with some trepidation walked in the footsteps of George Washington Carver and certainly Booker T. Washington. And I've only been on the job 1 year and 1 month. So it's been an opportunity to really experience a tremendous amount of enthusiasm among the students. And as you can see, we've gone through some changes over time in commencement ceremonies, and also with the band has also evolved over time. But at any rate, we're moving quickly into the 21st century. We've been designated as a hub for the Alabama Broadband Initiative, which will have high-speed fiber optic connecting Huntsville and Mobile, with the hub being in Tuskegee. So it gives our students an opportunity to, again, have distance learning opportunities, and that part is being paid for by one of our distinguished members of the alumni that you may have heard of, Lionel Richie, who has decided to install a hub for distance learning both nationally and internationally, and we'll start off with selected master's programs that will build upon the traditions and the name brand. We currently have, and the University of Northern Iowa, on a grant from the National Geospatial Intelligence Agency. And oddly enough, I was a little surprised that they were interested in a real-time predictive model for mosquito-borne diseases. But as they explained to me, epidemics in the human population and epizootics in the animal population are politically and economically destabilizing. So that is of interest to get heads up, apart from the humanitarian benefit that might be ancillary. Moreover, we're collaborating with, on that project, utilizing data that will be collected at the ground station in Malindi, Kenya. That also is the patient for another project in which we're collaborating with the University of Rome, La Sapienza, and Tor Vergata, and an Italian company that has a primary ownership in Germany with Rheinmetall Italia, to launch 2 satellites, one that would be attached to the International Space Station on the Columbus module, and another that would be equatorial orbiting to monitor the African Sahel, Brazilian Amazon, and also Malaysia, Indonesia, and primarily for long-term impact of climate change, and because with an equatorial orbit, one could get 90-minute revisit time, and so that has some advantage for time series. Parenthetically, speaking of time series, it would be really beneficial if, in fact, the Landsat continuity mission were refunded in full force so we could maintain that. We're also collaborating with on a project for NATO, NATO's Science for Peace program, which is and the collaborator is Boğaziçi University in Istanbul, and the The project was originally in Egypt, but given the issues with Egypt, we were allowed by NATO to relocate to Morocco, and primarily with El Akouane University, and also with Abdel Malik Saadi University. And the purpose for the real-time ground stations are for an array of time-critical events, but primarily for early warning of disasters, including floods, storms, forest fires, but also epidemics, by monitoring infectious disease vector habitat. And that links with another project in which we're collaborating with NSF for food security in India, given the relationship between malnutrition and infection. So the main purpose is to provide sufficient early warning, particularly, for example, in the case of the UNFAO's project to monitor Schistocerca gregaria in Africa, to utilizing satellite data as well as vector data that would have the tracks of previous infestations. So we're combining that with surface water availability and rapid green-up, one can predict the location of Schistocerca, the desert locusts, and eliminate them in the larval stage, since larvicides are less expensive and less intrusive and not as broad spectrum, which would then have a deleterious impact upon the honeybee and other species. We were involved in establishing the Purdue Terrestrial Observatory, and currently it is our intent to similarly establish a ground station on campus at Tuskegee University, as well as in the Gulf of Mexico at the Dolphin Island Sea Lab off the coast of Mobile. And we've brought some postdocs with me from Purdue, and in collaborating with our electrical engineering department, Professor Ben Onyi, who spoke earlier in the conference today, as well as with several other departments, particularly a new center for geoscience and climate change. So the rich history has always been known with respect to Tuskegee, but the current accomplishments have not been as well known. We're attempting to do publicity on that, and fortunately, as we're about to launch the largest capital campaign in our history for $250 million, we were ranked by Washington Monthly in its September-October 2011 issue among the 309 nationwide as criteria. Well, first of all, baccalaureate is opposed to liberal arts because the majority of the degrees that we confer are in engineering and science, mathematics and agriculture, and veterinary medicine. Since we conferred the Doctor of Veterinary Medicine to be 75% of all black veterinarians in America. But also because the three criteria that were used had to do with research. And it was pointed out that as a baccalaureate college, our research was twice that of the number 2 in the category. And moreover, social mobility, the capability of the university to take low-income students and move them through the ranks of bachelor's, master's, and doctoral degrees, and contribution to the country as defined by participation of the students in Peace Corps, National Health Service. So what is particularly at a time when historically black colleges are being vilified erroneously and maliciously in the press and in other venues, it's important for us to recognize the true story, which is the fact that while representing only 3% of America's institutions of higher learning, historically black colleges graduate 20% of African Americans who go on to not only to undergraduate degrees, but subsequently to graduate and professional students. We've just added 15 new graduate programs within the last couple of months, and that includes doubling the number of doctoral programs. We happen to have the only aerospace science engineering accredited program among HBCUs, and the only material science department with a PhD in material science. The ribbon was cut by Dr. Subha Suresh recently, and there are initiatives, there's some expertise that dovetail very nicely with NASA priorities. So recently, in addition to Director Van Dr. Jacques Diouf, the Director General of UNFAO, and we are currently in the process of developing MOUs to establish close research linkages with UNFAO, just as we did recently with the Director at NASA Goddard Space Flight Center. So, of course, the sky is very crowded these days. One of the issues with our geomatics section within civil engineering is to do training with respect to geopositioning, not only with GPS, but learning the nuances of Galileo from the UK, Baidu or Compass from China, Guidon from India, and the venerable Globalnaya Navigazione Sputnikovaya Sistema, or GLONASS, from Russia. So briefly looking just at two computer facility, which will allow 150 data products in real time to be observed, including surface temperature, air, storm, fire, snow, ice, simple water, early and normalized vegetation index. So all of this information, of course, being available in within 15 minutes after satellite overpass for a variety of products for interdisciplinary research. Moreover, linking it within a spatial database to the network of Doppler radar sites, linking it with the International Data Buoy program for oceanographic data, and attempting to have a more cohesive set of data sources that can be accessed quickly and easily. So currently I have the privilege of serving as the co-chair of IEEE Geoscience and Remote Sensing Society's Data Archiving and Acquisitions, the lead being at Goddard. And we're collaborating with Purdue's flow cytometry lab to look at, to collaborate because we're doing the same thing. How data is, how a phenomenon absorbs, backscatters, emits light at different segments of the electromagnetic spectrum, and moreover, we use similar algorithms to identify anomalies in the data. But we don't read each other's literature for obvious reasons, so if a breakthrough occurs at one end of the scale, it takes a long time to migrate. Case in point, flow cytometry algorithms developed by David Landry for hyperspectral data analysis 25 years ago for feature extraction and for spectral unmixing. Advances have occurred since then. And moreover, in flow cytometry, you can get 500 variables for a cell, a drop of blood, whereas the best we can get is somewhere around 200 from the hyperspectral satellites at the terrain scale. So visualization is one of the issues that we're pushing, and actually because it's not only for learning at the graduate level. I was delighted that we recently received $15 million in grants from the National Science Foundation, $5 million to assist for the research on nanobiomaterials, and the other $9.9 million was to interact with 6th through 8th graders in middle schools throughout the Deep South, the so-called Black Belt, by providing them with the capability to engage in three-dimensional scientific visualization and also nanoscience and nanotechnology to entice them to consider science careers, and moreover to work simultaneously with their teachers to improve their scores on ACT and SAT so that they can manage to matriculate successfully and successfully gain admittance to universities. So, because Edinburgh, for example, just received another 8-point AID to improve hydrological infrastructure in 4 African countries, Burkina Faso, Mali, Senegal, and Ghana. And this follows the tradition of Booker T. Washington over 100 years ago, establishing research and instructional collaboration with Togo, with Liberia, with Senegal. So we're simply continuing the tradition. So those are the universities that collaborate on that project. So with this $250 million, we really hope to program our students for excellence in the future, to establish firm collaborations with federal agencies and also with the private sector to maintain our position, at least to advance our position with respect to endowment. We're in the top 3 among HBCUs. We did recover from the recession, unlike some of our beloved Ivy League and Big Ten colleagues. So we've hovered at 2,800 students for the last 7 years. This year we've got over 3,100, and we have a goal of 5,000 by consistent with the 5-year capital campaign. And we anticipate that we will meet that because last year at this time we had 2,000 applications a year in advance. We now have 5,400 applications now for next year. So again, in the last $42 million, notwithstanding the budget cuts, freeze, and earmarks, we've had a jump in federal funding, and we hope that that will be maintained and flourish. So basically, our objectives over the next 5 years are to enhance technology, not only with supercomputing and real-time remote sensing, but faculty development, participating in NASA programs, participating in a wide variety of initiatives, including study abroad and faculty exchange. We're establishing the Tuskegee University Research Park. We've managed to entice some federal agencies as well as some private sector companies and regional bodies to co-locate. We're breaking ground on 2 new facilities within the next couple of weeks under agreement with Secretary Vilsack of the USDA to establish the George Washington Carver Center for Sustainable Agriculture. And secondly, to establish a robotic, state-of-the-art facility for processing, packaging, and labeling fruit and vegetables grown by small throughout the Deep South, with 100% of the produce being marketed to Walmart so that they know they have a buyer once they bring it there, and they know that they have almost infinite elasticity in purchasing depending upon how much they can produce. So it's basically securing the future with endowed professorships and programming for excellence, and we're looking forward to establishing the kinds of initiatives with NASA headquarters down in the other centers, not just because I have a personal affinity, but because it's really compatible not only with Tuskegee, but with a large segment of historically Black colleges who I think need to be more bold in addressing the fact that the contributions to this society are truly enormous. Certainly without myself having finished from an HBCU Xavier, I would not have had the opportunity to study in graduate school at Yale and MIT, and subsequently an opportunity to work with NASA. Thank you very much.